Lubesimum, the big bad wolf, a doll that was made in hell itself. All these beings are cartoon characters, but they're so scary and so strange that I would even say they're demonic. And that's what I'm going to show you here today, cartoon characters, children's characters that are so scary, they're practically demonic. Let's start with Castelo, which has already appeared in the first 2 videos about this here on the channel. But this time, here, I'm going to talk about the most famous episode when we talk about Castelo and episodes that traumatized people. I'm referring to the carnival episode, which begins much like other Castelo episodes, with Nino waking up excited for the castle's upcoming carnival party. And he's thinking about the costumes he can wear, and while he's there, kind of making breakfast using the blender, Dr. Vitor's reading the news. He tells Nino the big bad wolf escaped from the zoo, but Nino, distracted by the blender, misunderstands and thinks Dr. Vitor is talking about the big bad wolf costume he'll wear to the castle party. While the episode goes on, Dr. Vitor leaves the castle, and Nino spends the rest of the episode kind of sulking there. Because he doesn't know exactly what costume to wear, he wanted something more original. Then Nino's friends arrive. Then we see a scene that's kind of like a parade going by near the castle. And then he appears, the big bad wolf. And you can tell by the costume they used in this episode that it's no wonder people kind of got traumatized. Look at that, and especially in this scene where they zoom in on his teeth, it looks like his mouth is stained with blood. Then the doorman kind of thinks it's Dr. Vitor and lets the big bad wolf into the castle. And then something starts that made me kind of uneasy in this episode because this big bad wolf. Then he goes to the kitchen, and he goes to the kitchen window, and he just stands there watching everyone, talking. Then there's a part where Nino talks to his friends, and they mess with us by putting the big bad wolf out of focus in the background, just staring at them. That scene is weird. And then there's a part where Nina goes to get a glass of water. Then the big bad wolf appears in front of her, and she thinks it's Dr. Vitor, and just goes on with her life as usual. At the episode's end, during the party, they read the newspaper about the big bad wolf escaping the zoo and realize that it's not Dr. Vitor there, but the big bad wolf. They run from him until Dr. Vitor arrives and turns the big bad wolf into a small dog. If you enjoy these videos or are interested in mythology, history, or gods, subscribe to the channel and share the hype video. It really helps me. If you'd like to help more, you can join as a channel member for under 5 rays, which really helps me keep working here. And you also get early access to videos and also exclusive videos like the ones you see on the screen. Another way you can help me is by using the Amazon affiliate links that are in the pinned comment, or by buying a book that's showing up on the screen right now. Just a show. And now let's go to Just a Show. I tried to find an episode here from the Park Horror Stories, but I couldn't find it, so I picked another one, which actually is a little more disturbing because it's part of the series canon, which is the camping episode. In this episode, Mordecai and Rigby end up inviting Aileen and Margaret to go camping, and until they get there, everything is pretty normal in the episode. But at the exact moment they stop the car at the place where they're going to camp, which, by the way, is a restricted area, a really strange song starts playing in the background. So Mordecai kind of asks Rigby if he brought the matches, and Rigby says he forgot. They start arguing there, but then Aileen ends up making a campfire herself. After that, they start having fun there, kind of go to see the mountains, and then go for a swim. All of this happens in a montage with some fun music playing in the background. And in the middle of this montage, we already start to see a deer watching them. But as night falls, Rigby and Aileen are there playing a video game, while Mordecai is trying to get somewhere with Margaret. At one point, Margaret hears a noise in the forest, and Mordecai says this line.
Wait, did you hear that?
What?
I don't know.
It's just the sound of the forest. It must be the deer we saw earlier.
He even put some background music there with the car, but then it starts to rain, and when Margaret is picking up some branches and leaves in the forest, she ends up finding it again. The deer, which actually turns out not to be an ordinary deer, but a half-man, half-deer, who is extremely pissed off at them because they brought the car there, set the forest on fire, and also kind of polluted the environment with noise. Oh, by the way, it's worth mentioning that this man comes from the union of a deer and a human woman, because he actually says that himself in this episode.
Of course we love the forest, don't we, guys?
You can bet on it for sure.
Just like my mom said she loved me and that I shouldn't go after her in the city.
How come?
Which is already pretty bizarre, right? But anyway, this deer man says he's going to hunt them to use as food. And then a desperate chase begins. Aileen manages to break the car window. Then Margaret starts driving, but the creature is right behind them. Mordecai hits it with a lantern, but then it jumps on top of the car and shoots an arrow into the tires. The car flips over and crashes. And when the deer man is about to shoot some arrows at them, the local guard shows up and accidentally runs him over. So this episode itself and the deer man character aren't really that scary, but given the context of the episode and what they say there, it's kind of weird.
Ben 10.
We're going to Ben 10, back in the first season, where we have an episode called Permanent Retirement. When I watched it when I was younger, it wasn't a scary episode, but it was an episode that made me feel more uncomfortable when I was watching it. The episode already starts with something really scary, which is two robbers attacking poor Vomax, throwing him to the ground as if he were nothing. Violence against the elderly is a scary thing. But right after that, we find out that Ben, Gwen, and Vomax are going to visit one of their aunts. I think it's Vomax's sister, who lived in a place full of retirees. And before we go there, we see a scene, which is pretty weird, of an alien kind of possessing an old man. And as soon as Ben is arriving at the place, he already starts noticing some weird things. And when Vomax parks the van, Ben ends up looking at a neighbor. And we see a scene that really reminds me of The Exorcist. No, but honestly, this episode makes me uncomfortable, and I'm not sure why. If anyone else feels the same, leave a comment so I know I'm not alone. After that, they go into their aunt's house and eat a gelatin made of ribs and cauliflower. Yeah, that's exactly what you heard. But then Ben, to escape from there, he turns into the ghostly one and goes out around the area. There, he sees another bizarre scene, an old lady jumping on the ceiling and eating a young woman. After that, Ben ends up seeing his neighbor, the exorcist, carrying what looks like a rug to the middle of a dump. He follows him, but at the exact moment, the neighbor opens a secret passage. Who knows where the clock ends up unloading? And Ben turns human again, and a chase begins. Ben is saved by turning on sprinklers and spraying water. He tells Vomax and Pagino what happened, and they visit the neighbor's house to check for anything strange. They get into the house really easily but don't find anything. Then Vomax tells them to go to sleep because the next morning he was going to take a walk. They would talk about it. And during the night, we see his aunt also being possessed by some creature right there. And the next morning, while Vomax was out walking, Gwen and Ben went out alone to see what was happening around the city. And this scene from the whole episode is what made me the most uncomfortable, because even though Ben had the watch on his wrist, I ended up seeing two kids walking alone through a city that was kind of zombified or haunted. It gave me a sort of apocalyptic vibe in this scene. Then the residents, who were almost all dead monsters already, start attacking them. And then when we think Vomax is going to show up there, actually, he was already a monster too. In that scene, as a kid, I thought Vomax was gone. Then Ben turns into the beast. He and Gwen use the secret passage, and they find the alien's lair. There, they also find some eggs with all the people they had taken from the city. They managed to free Vomax, and using water from an underground pipe, they managed to drive the aliens away. Which actually we see at the end that some of them ended up staying on Earth. And speaking of Ben 10 too, we also have the episode about Yanaldushi, which in this case is the name of the Skinwalker's legend. The Yanaldushi episode is the one with Wolf Ben. It's actually kind of dark at the beginning. It's really cool. It has a supernatural vibe, but that's only at the beginning. When we see Vomax talking about the Yanaldushi legend, the indigenous people, it's also cool to see Ben Ali kind of getting bitten and then sort of turning into a werewolf. But when, at least for me, you find out that actually the Yanaldushi is an alien, it loses that supernatural vibe, and it just turns into another episode of Ben 10.
Adventure Time.
Now let's move on to Adventure Time, which has an episode that's rather dark. At least at the beginning too, which is the episode called The Eyes. And in this episode, we have Finn and Jake coming home extremely tired. After several jobs they dealt with a dragon. They went to Princess Caroso's 15th birthday party and also helped Mordomomento hide a murder. Normal hero stuff. But when they get home and get ready to sleep, putting on their pajamas, which makes him look like a sausage, they realize that something is wrong because they can't sleep. It's like something is watching them. Then they notice, looking at the window, that there's a horse with an extremely dumb-looking face there, staring at them nonstop. And man, that horse's face. One night, looking at the window, it gives a really weird feeling. So Finn and Jake do everything they can to try to get rid of that horse. They even try to cover the window, then go outside and try to push it away. Jake tries to put that horse on a hill really far away, but then it comes back and Jake even suggests killing the horse. Hey man, let's kill this horse. This episode stays kind of dark and mysterious until Finn kicks the horse's butt and from inside the Ice King comes out. Another episode of Adventure Time that's also really bizarre is that one where there's a deer there, kind of licking all the candy people. Then Finn and Jake try to stop him, but he ends up making Jake hit his head on the ground and breaks Finn's legs in a really violent way. Actually, when Finn wakes up, his legs are in casts and Jake is completely out of his mind. He thinks the candy people are hiding to throw him a surprise party. He's so crazy that when Finn hears noises down in the sewer, which is already pretty weird by itself, he tries to go see what that loud noise in the sewer is. But Jake tries to stop him, thinking he's going to ruin his surprise party. But when Finn gets down there, he finds out that all the candy people are trapped there. Then Finn thinks it was Jake who did this and punches him a few times to bring him back to his senses, but it wasn't Jake who was doing it. But then the mood of the moment says it wasn't Jake. No, it was the moose. Right there. Then the moose strikes this extremely bizarre pose. But then luckily, they managed to knock out the moose and kind of throw him down the sewer. Now, going to the world of Gumball, we have Margaret Robinson, who is the wife of Mr. Robinson, the guy that Gumball is always bothering. In the episode The Wicked, we learn a bit about her story. For example, the fact that she doesn't say anything, she just keeps moaning, and also the fact that she's a psychopath. Because, for example, there's a picture of her while someone is drowning in front of her, and she's extremely calm. She set her own school on fire on the first day and on a Saturday. At a certain point in the episode, Darwin is trying to prove that there's goodness in her. He tries to pretend that he's choking right in front of her, but she simply walks past him and closes her own door while looking at him smiling. Then Gumball and Darwin try to find out what happened in her life to make her this way. But Mr. Robson says that nothing happened. Margaret is just like that, just because. But there's a moment in the episode when Gumball ends up looking at a tag above Margaret's head. And it says there that she is made of 70% cotton and from the depths of hell itself. If you watch the video up to here, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share, and hype it up. So see you next time. Bye.